less Americans today are religious than they were 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have this interesting thing going on where within the church, you kind of have these various divisions taking place, and people of various denominations and sects, and even the New Age church, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
the Carlins and the I don't know how to describe them, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like the Christian rock stars church people,
Okay.
and so you have this division taking place in the church, but you have less people in America that are actually religious. So like, how do you explain that phenomena?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I really don't know. I do know. I was just talking to my organist Saturday, and he was kind of saying the same thing that most people don't. They don't want to be preachers. They don't even go to church. Number one, you got to realize this: that the population is definitely much different than it was 50 years ago.
Totally
So,
agree.
so when you talk about 50 years ago, I think, I think if I'm not mistaken, the year that I was born, and I'm only 44, so I was born in 76.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, the year I was born, it was like about 4 billion, almost 5 billion people in the world. Today we have 8 billion people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's almost a double population.
Yep.
So when you talk about more people in the church, whatever, I mean, numbers are definitely gonna change. Um, I think more so back 50 years ago, people only had God.
Mm.
Especially black people. We didn't have technology. We didn't have we couldn't go to the doctors. So I've heard stories back in with people in the 50s and 60s that they weren't allowed to go to the emergency rooms or hospitals when their child was sick or whatever. So they would take them to the church, and the pastor would pray for them, and they would get healed or whatever. So we didn't have as much money as we had today. Even though a lot of black people were business owners back in the 60s as compared to today, we had our own things, but because of segregation and stuff, we had to rely on God. We had to rely on something higher than what already existed. So it was the church. The church had a certain level of respect, even in the communities. It played an integral part. Even though we say separation of church and state, it played an integral part in politics. So you look at documentaries with Dr. King and stuff, and people coming into the church, politicians, they do it now, but more so in the bigger churches. But so that, I think, is one of the reasons why people were a little more religious back then as opposed to today. We got so much going on. We ain't got time for church. We're trying to shorten services. We're trying to make services at 8:00 because we've been there for an hour and we got the rest of it to ourselves. Whereas years ago, people actually, I keep the Sabbath, so I have service on Saturday. We keep the Saturday as a Sabbath, not Sunday. But years ago,
which is the right way, I think, because isn't Sunday the first day of the week?
It is.
So the Sabbath would be Saturday.
It would be.
So why do we have church on Sundays?
Because the Catholic Church did it.
Okay. Oh boy.
That's a whole other thing getting into there. Again, when we were here as slaves and we couldn't read or write or whatever, we did what the masters did, and they were quote unquote Christians and stuff. So they Sunday was the day. And the Sunday Blue Laws. I heard you talking about Sunday Blue Laws on one of your podcasts.
Oh yeah.
That's because Sunday was treated as a Sabbath. It was treated as the Sabbath. But now, like I said, you go to church at 8:00 in the morning, early service, so you can get it done and over with, so you can go out and spend the rest of your day doing what you want to do or go to work.
So you said a couple of things that I want to touch on. The first part where you talked about how one reason why we're less religious today, especially African Americans, than we were 50 years ago, is because we're kind of stuck in an interesting place where we haven't achieved equality, but we are absolutely way further away from where we were 50 years ago, and so we're
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this to me is not just you can speak about this outside of the context of religion. I think it plays a role in kind of fighting for higher wages and various things that we need to fight for, because we're not desperate. It makes
Mm-hmm.
the fight not worth it almost,
Oh, absolutely.
right? And so I've been saying for a while that African Americans, but also Americans in general, we're kind of stuck at that place where we're not super, poor or oppressed, but we know that we're not getting paid the proper wages. We know that we're not getting the same health care as rich people, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of hard to get people motivated to do things when, to your point, there's not anything that lights a fire under their behind, versus before when we had Jim Crow, segregation, further back when we had actual slavery.
Right.
To your point, these things almost push you to God.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. You ain't got no. I mean, as I said to my church, we're living better than our parents are living at our ages. Some of, not everybody, not everybody, but a lot of us are living better than our parents. So we don't have that need and that desperation as they did. Also, we this generation that's coming up, it's something about respect
Mm.
that is kind of missing, because we respected the older people years ago. Now that respect is kind of gone.